I stopped helping my kids get ready in the morning. No reminders, no running down the checklist, just complete responsibility on their part. It started when my oldest got invited to a summer trip to Europe in 2026. He really wants to go, but it made me wonder, could he handle 2 weeks without us?
Hey there, I'm Melissa, time management coach, writer, Jesus lover, and creator of the Wealthy Mama Journal. Around here, we don't chase perfect, we chase peace. This is where faith meets focus and where I help busy moms like you manage your time without losing your mind. If you're tired of color-coded chaos and want to be rich in what matters most, spoiler, it's not laundry, then you're in the right place. Are you ready? Let's get into it.
Have you ever held on to something just because you wanted it to work? A routine, a commitment, a cluttered inbox, maybe even an identity that no longer fits. This week, I made some small but surprisingly hard decisions. Things that seemed insignificant on the surface, but revealed a whole lot about how I operate. From hitting unsubscribe on emails that suddenly drained me, to finally admitting my fridge organization strategy was a total fail. Don't judge me. I started noticing a pattern. Why do we resist letting go even when we know something isn't serving us? Why do we cling to what's comfortable instead of making space for what's better? And more importantly, what happens when we finally decide to release the things holding us back? Today, we're going to talk about it. Progress. The emotional weight of unsubscribing. This week, I went on an unsubscribing spree, not just from emails I don't read, but from ones that made me feel some type of way. Some sparked imposter syndrome, some whispered, "You should be doing more." And others were just another shiny distraction. And let me tell you, I feel lighter already. It's funny how hitting unsubscribe can feel like rejecting a person rather than just opting out of a conversation. But unsubscribing doesn't mean you're against someone. It just means that right now, that message is no longer serving you. And that's okay. So if your inbox is stressing you out, take 60 seconds and start unsubscribing, not just to clear space, but to protect your peace. And hey, if that means leaving my Substack, no hard feelings. I've loved having you here and I truly wish you well. A fridge that breathes. I cleaned out and reorganized my fridge this week and wow, why did I wait so long? I had these big organizational bins that I desperately wanted to work, but honestly, they were just taking up space. I kept cramming things around them, trying to make them fit, instead of admitting that they weren't meant for this space. So I finally took them out and repurposed them somewhere else. And suddenly, my fridge felt bigger. I could actually see everything. And instead of playing Tetris with my groceries, everything had a place. It's so wild how we hold on to things because we want them to work, even when they clearly don't. Downsizing isn't about losing. It's about creating space for what truly fits. And sometimes the best organization strategy isn't adding more bins. It's removing the stuff that doesn't belong. Turning on the camera and not running away. I did something bold. I recorded a YouTube video. Unscripted, unplanned, unperfect. Yes, I know that's not a word, but just go with it. I don't know when or if I'll post it, but the wind was turning on the camera and showing up. I felt the nudge, that tug to create something, and I listened. It was very uncomfortable. At first, I found myself performing, hitting that content creator voice, second guessing every single sentence. But after 10 whole minutes of awkwardness, I finally settled in and just talked. That's the hardest part about showing up. You have to wade through the weirdness before you get to the realness. So, will I ever upload it? Maybe, maybe not. If God wants you to see it, he'll make it happen. Kidding. Sort of. Lessons. Chore swaps. I ended up switching my daughter's chore from dishwashing to laundry this week. Why, you ask? Well, she struggled with unloading the dishwasher, reaching the higher cabinets. It was always a battle. Then, out of nowhere, I noticed she started doing laundry without being asked. Let me repeat that for you. Without being asked. She was proud of herself, genuinely enjoying the process. And it hit me. Why am I forcing her to do something that she's unable to fully complete when she naturally enjoys another task? So I made the swap. She was thrilled. No more dragging her feet, no more nagging, just a happy kid tackling a chore she actually likes. And honestly, I don't love doing laundry. So this is a win-win. Moral of the story, sometimes the problem isn't the chore itself, it's the wrong person doing it. I'm not saying that kids need to love all their chores, okay? But I am saying that we can be strategic in all areas of life. Sometimes a simple shift can change the whole game. Divine timing. I went to a networking mixer this week and met someone who, like me, loves God and coaching. A fierce combination. We exchanged numbers, said the usual, let's stay in touch, and I figured that was the end of it. But a few days later, she sent me a link to a Christian women's 7-day challenge, morning prayer and evening sessions. I wasn't even looking for something like this, but I clicked the link anyway. And on Tuesday night, the leader prayed a prayer that shook me to my core, y'all. And then she said, the way you found this session was not a mistake. And I just knew God sent me exactly what I needed at exactly the right time. It was one of those moments where you realize He is always orchestrating, even in the smallest ways. The people, the opportunities, even the struggles, they're all nudging us closer to Him. Letting go of the morning checklist. I stopped helping my kids get ready in the morning. No reminders, no running down the checklist, just complete responsibility on their part. It started when my oldest got invited to a summer trip to Europe in 2026. He really wants to go, but it made me wonder, could he handle 2 weeks without us? So, experiment mode activated. The first day, my daughter forgot her coat and my son nearly left without his laptop. She wanted to turn back. I said, absolutely not. There's a checklist by the door. You should have checked. You know what to do. Did I feel bad? Absolutely. But what's worse than being cold? Needing someone else to think for you for the rest of your life. And suddenly, I understood a little more about God. How He watches us struggle, but lets us learn. Because sometimes it's for your own good. Adversities. The validation trap. Whenever I step outside my comfort zone, whether it's leading a workshop or giving a presentation, my body instantly craves validation. It's like coming down from a high and suddenly every self-doubt I've ever had is screaming in my ear. Was that good enough? Did I sound dumb? Should I have said more? Should I have said less? My first instinct? Call someone. Get reassurance. Hear them say, you did great. But instead, I've been sitting with the discomfort, feeling all of the things, because I no longer want to rely on external approval to regulate my emotions. So I've been practicing something new, giving myself an internal hug, letting the negative thoughts pass without grabbing onto them for dear life. It doesn't feel great, but growth rarely does. And honestly, it's crazy how unkind we are to ourselves. If I wouldn't talk to a friend this way, why do I allow my own mind to? Self-inflicted sleep deprivation. I knew better. I knew I needed to go to bed earlier. But on 2 separate nights this week, I stayed up way past my bedtime, and guess what? I paid for it dearly. The next mornings were a hot mess. Low energy, foggy brain, zero patience. And did I learn my lesson? Not really, because I did it again. It just reminds me of something hard but true. Some lessons can only be learned through consequences. We get mad at God for making us struggle, but some of us need the struggle to actually change. The Lord knows exactly what it takes to wake us up. And listen, I should know better than anyone. I was fully prepared to let burnout take me out quietly until a cancer diagnosis forced me to change. Life has been harder since, but also so much better. I'm trying to be proactive with my obedience now, but old habits die hard. The uncomfortable faith of Hannah. In Bible study this week, we talked about Hannah, who prayed for a child for years and years. She was barren in a time when children were seen as God's favor, and people mocked her for it. Still, she kept praying. One night, she was so overcome with emotion as she cried out to God that a priest watching her thought she was drunk. And that was the night she told God, "If you give me a child, I'll give him back to you." It made me pause because there are some things I willingly surrender to God, but not everything, and definitely not my kids. Hannah's faith was deep. It was tested. It was unwavering. And I realized I am not there yet. Maybe one day, but for now, I'm just sitting with that tension, knowing there's still more surrendering I need to do. What's next? In my Clarity Collective community, we're diving into boundaries. And after the last session, it's clear we all struggle with them. Not just setting them, but enforcing them, especially with the people we love. This week, we're going deep on how to actually have those conversations with the 3 most common types of boundary crossers. I already know this is going to be uncomfortable, but boundaries without communication aren't boundaries. They're just resentment waiting to happen. So, we're facing it head on. Because if we don't set the standard for how we're treated, someone else will. And 9 times out of 10, their standard isn't going to be in your best interest. Also this week, I'm actually going to get in bed on time. For real, I hope. I already know I need at least 7 hours of sleep to function like a decent human being. And yet, here I am, knowing better, doing worse. It's like watching my kids touch something hot, except I'm the kid and bedtime is the stove. I don't even have a good excuse. It's not like I'm solving world problems at 11:30 p.m. I'm just scrolling, overthinking, or getting caught in the one more thing trap. And then I wake up exhausted, irritated, and ready to pick a fight with my alarm clock. So I'm making a bedtime commitment for my energy, my patience, and my sanity. Will I nail it every night? Probably not. But if I don't start taking my own rest seriously, who will? Next, I'm also shifting my focus this week to tackling the hard things first. The things I've been avoiding, the ones that have been weighing on me the most. Normally, I like easing into productivity, checking off the quick wins, warming up before diving into the deep work, but sometimes that's just a glorified procrastination strategy. So this week, I'm flipping the script. The hardest, most mentally draining task, knocking them out the way first. No more pushing them to later, which usually means never. It's going to be uncomfortable. I already know my brain will try to negotiate with me. Let's just answer some emails first. But if I want to move forward, I can't keep avoiding the things that are holding me back. Hard first, easy later. Let's see how it goes. Final thoughts. This week, I've been sitting with a truth that's both obvious and deeply frustrating. Growth is almost always uncomfortable. Unsubscribing from distractions, uncomfortable. Letting go of things that don't fit, uncomfortable. Stepping in front of a camera and fumbling through the first 10 minutes, absolutely uncomfortable. There's a reason we avoid the hard stuff. It doesn't feel good. It pushes against every instinct to seek comfort, validation, and safety. But the thing is, comfort never changed anybody. Real transformation happens in the tension, in the moments when you want to quit but don't. When you resist the urge to numb and instead sit with the discomfort. So if you're in that space right now where everything feels a little messy, uncertain, and even painful, I just want to remind you, this is part of the process. Keep going. The version of you that you're becoming, she's absolutely worth it.
Thanks for hanging out with me on the Wealthy Mama podcast. My hope is that something today gave you that little nudge towards peace, focus, or maybe just a good laugh at my expense. Because let's be real, life's messy, and that's where God does his best work. If you want more of this blend of faith, focus, and figuring it out as we go, head to my Substack. It's where I continue to share the real, raw, and slightly sarcastic thoughts I don't always say out loud. Until next time, keep chasing peace, practicing grace, and showing up for the life God's calling you to. Now go be wealthy, mama.